This podcast is brought to you by Kempower, the reliable, quick, and scalable EV charging solutions for everyone and everywhere. And StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage. This episode is also made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. I'm your host, Francie, and today is one of our team podcasts, which is a new thing that we want to start where we feature different members of the Out of Spec team, whoever can really make it to this call, and they can tell us about all the things that they've been doing with EVs, their thoughts on their recent experiences, what they've been traveling to do, and of course, what you can look forward to from the Out of Spec channels. So today we are joined by Ryan, Jordan, Kyle, Max, Out of Spec Dave, and Colton from Out of Spec Detailing. Welcome, y'all. How's it going? Ryan, Jordan, and Kyle, y'all are calling in together. It looks like you're bunched up. Where are you?
Yeah, we're in a conference room at our office at the CSU building. I just realized I'm wearing a CU hat, so that might cause some controversy. Oh, I'll see myself out. But yeah, we're just doing some testing here. We were on the track this morning.
Yep.
Not race cars, but close enough.
Yeah, but the next closest thing to a race car, Hummer EV.
Well, we're doing proper consumer testing because everyone goes to buy a truck and then they wonder, how would it do on track? So now we're answering that question.
It's been answered.
You're welcome.
That's pretty fun. So where's the track? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this morning we were at IMI, which is a local, I would say oversized go-kart course, which was hilarious to have these giant 9,000-pound SUV or trucks out there. So we had the Tesla Cybertruck Cyber Beast against the Rivian, which rocked. We had it against the Hummer EV, Silverado EV, and the
Lightning.
F-150 Lightning. Thank you. I knew I was forgetting something there. So yeah, just another one in the series of truck videos that we've been doing on out-of-spec reviews and out-of-spec motoring. And we're doing a whole driving dynamics video. So it's not just track, it's city, highway, and performance. But we wanted to do the performance testing on track, not to do anything stupid on public roads. So yep, that's why we were there.
Pretty fun. Yeah, you mentioned the, obviously y'all have been playing around with a lot of trucks lately, just a bunch of guys and their trucks. So I'm sure some people have been asking about the coast to coast race. And so I'd love for y'all to just clarify, the race has happened. We're not going to reveal the results right now, but it's coming out episodically, right? There's a few episodes. The first one came out. Kyle, team, when can they expect to learn more about how the trip continued and then, finally figure out what happened, which truck won on the race from Florida, the East Coast, all the way to San Diego, the West Coast?
Yeah, so we shot this ocean-to-ocean EV truck race series. That's what these podcasts are great about, just catching everyone up with what we've been doing. And so we had the Cybertruck versus Rivian versus Lightning versus Silverado EV 3WT, a little bit different trucks than we've been using here in Colorado, but we had 4 of them. And yeah, we left San Diego, California. We said whoever gets to we left Jacksonville, Florida, and we got to San Diego, California. We said whoever gets there first wins. 10 over the speed limit was the only rule, no more than that. And, it was an interesting one. Part 1 is up on Out of Spec Motoring. Part 2, maybe by the time this show goes up, will be up, but it launches every Saturday. So there's 2 more episodes on the next 2 Saturdays.
Yeah, so this is coming out on Friday. So everyone, if you're listening to this, then you can look forward to something to watch tomorrow, Saturday. So that's pretty fun. Okay, y'all been playing around with trucks. We can get back to that. But I also want to know what Colton has been scrub-a-dubba doing over there in your garage. What have you been up to?
Yeah, just been working a little bit. We got a puppy, so it's been fun to have this little dude running around the shop and dealing with that. So work's been not crazy as it's been, I guess, because I've been kind of having to take care of this little tiny thing now. And it's been good, but definitely starting to now feel, we're getting into springtime. Everybody's getting their cars clean. And got some cool stuff coming up. And definitely we're going to be soon, after all the truck comparisons are over, I'm going to steal the Cybertruck for a few days and really put on my testing hat and figure out, some more advice for customers with Cybertrucks that want to leave them stainless steel, because like Kyle says, this stuff is a pain in the butt to deal with. It looks terrible when you take it across the country, get bugs on it, road salt, road grime. And even after our wash, it still looks terrible. So lots more work needed to do. I think Dave just fell over there.
Colton, videos?
All good.
Colton, you had some videos this month, though. So you did a couple on the Cybertruck stuff. Can you walk us through those?
Yeah, so we did a first initial wash video, 4,500 miles. Kyle, I told him, get this thing as dirty as possible. And he didn't wash it at all when he got to San Diego or on the way back. So it was cool to, take our out of spec Cybertruck and get it really clean as possible in, a few minutes here and there. But also did a build quality analysis video on the Cybertruck, which honestly, I was kind of surprised about how decent it was. Obviously not perfect by any means with the front trunk and some door panel alignment and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a solid truck, and it's been cool to spend some time with it. I know Kyle's definitely spent a lot more time with it, but yeah, just driving it around town is pretty crazy, and the interactions with people. Also did a few other small videos on the channel doing some single bucket washes, which is a new method that I'm just like completely thrilled with, and just having fun.
Really cool, Colton. Yeah, I was seeing that like on Twitter, I see that people are really curious about like what you're using on the Cybertruck on the stainless steel, which has been the story since the beginning. And, they'll be like, what about like Wyman's or whatever that they use for their stainless steel sink? And I was imagining like if you just lined up all the products you've ever used and just like blacked them out as you figured out like what works and what doesn't. But there's so many things that you're trying, and you're kind of like a mad scientist. So
there's so many variables to it. And the biggest thing I can take away is the stainless steel is completely different from any appliance that you have at home or any other stainless steel I've played around with, even here at the shop. We have coatings coming up that I'm going to be testing. I think I have 5 of them now. One of the big ones is Protect-A-Clear, which seems to be kind of the standard as of right now that a lot of folks are using. I'm anxious to try it and see where this goes. Everybody tells me that this is the best product for it. This is the best one, and yet nobody's ever touched a Cybertruck with it. So it's got to put it to the test.
Awesome. Keep it up. Love to hear it. Okay, what about Max? What have you been up to? I know you've been a part of the truck movement as well over there, but anything up on Out of Spec Guide or anything else that you've been working on the past month or so?
Yeah, not much on Guide. Channel's not dead. I've just been editing for 4 of our other channels, which is only a quarter of the Out of Spec empire. But no, we've got a lot of exciting stuff. The truck video is coming up, part 2 this Saturday, and then the conclusion of the race next weekend. It's very exciting. I recently got norovirus like 24 hours ago, so that was fun. So just got over that.
Do I know what that is? What is that?
It's not fun. It's a lot of stuff coming out of your body very rapidly. So a few pullovers on I-70 yesterday. So while the boys were experiencing the G-forces on the track this morning, I was going through it yesterday. So luckily, we're all back on track now. But that was not so much fun. But EVs are doing great. I plugged into an EV Go, got auto charge. Perfect charge curve on my Polestar 2, so feeling good about that. In general, though, I have to say, with all of the electric truck news, I've just been so excited seeing all of this stuff develop. I mean, regardless of which one you're rooting for, whether it's in our cross-country race or which has the best towing performance, it's the Silverado. They all, I think, just do such a good job and excite people so much. I mean, it's just cool seeing electric vehicles expand into heavier duty categories. These are all like full-size pickup trucks, but I think it gives us a taste of what's to come when you combine larger batteries with larger capability. It surprised surprised me seeing a lot of people just in the community in the comments be like, oh my gosh, why does the Silverado charge so fast? And it's like, it actually doesn't charge that quickly if you consider the size of its battery and how it's configured. And that's exciting to me. I think as other manufacturers push the envelope of what you can do with cells and batteries, we're going to see some really exciting stuff, not just for electric trucks, but also scaled down vehicles too. I mean, we're going to get road trippers that are going to be incredible when you consider what we did cross country with, at least, in Team Silverado, not spoiling any results, but just all of these trucks, some of them not having tonneau covers, some of them like the Cybertruck having all-terrain tires. What all of these trucks are able to do is just mind-blowing. So that's been exciting for me to witness and be a part of.
It's definitely like so new in this industry, is seeing how electric trucks can be, do everything that we expect trucks to be able to do, or how they do them. So it's really cool to see all the different experiments that y'all are doing. And I share that, interest in seeing like how this is going to unfold. Are electric trucks going to change other ways that like you were saying, like road tripping and stuff, how the technology will be put into different kind of models? So very cool, Max. I'm glad you're feeling better. That sounds horrible. But otherwise, things sound pretty good for you. And out of spec, Dave, I know that you've been traveling a bit too, and also that you're busy over there, always doing whatever you're doing, which is a lot of things on the Out of Spec Dave channel. And something that I saw recently is that you might have decreased your EV or hybrid, either way, your car lineup by one recently. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me just say that I had the most fun month of the year so far. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it was just insane being on these road trips. And I want to talk about that in a second. But yes, I did unload the Cadillac ELR after a lot of sort of debate as to whether or not am I going to keep the Volt or keep the ELR. A lot of people may or may not know this, but Kyle has had my Tesla Model X over in Colorado since December, and I just bought the truck in November. So I've only had it in my possession for a month, and I needed a car, so I bought a Volt. And then everybody's like, well, why didn't you buy the ELR? I didn't even know what it was. So I bought an ELR, and I needed to make room in the driveway. So Kyle had actually come out earlier in the month, and we made a video, sort of him driving the ELR and driving the Volt. And it's one thing, he doesn't even know this, but the one thing that really pushed me over the edge, he said, the Volt feels so much more sorted. And I thought about, like, I need an extra car, third car, just to have, and 4 doors, hatchback. It's just easy to drive. And so anyway, I sold the Volt. I sold the ELR, put it up on eBay, and the gentleman that bought it, he flew in the other day, last weekend from Ohio, drove it all the way back, and when he got 10 miles from his house, the engine died. And I was like, oh no, here we go. What happened? And I was like, and the guy is totally cool. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'll take it to Cadillac tomorrow. And he took it to Cadillac, and the Freon level in the AC was low. They put Freon in it, and the thing just worked fine, and it's no issue. So anyway, yeah, I what a beautiful car. But I am in the Mighty Volt right now, filming with you guys, and there's a couple of videos up about, the ELR and the Volt from this month. One of them I think on Kyle's personal channel, which was a fun one, just his comparison between the two. The other thing that I tried to do this month was to fix my wife's Model Y bumper with a hairdryer. And that was an epic failure. I was just picturing Colton laughing at me as I'm ruining the paint, perhaps, on this Model Y bumper. And so many people wrote to me, and they're like, Dave, don't replace the bumper. You're going to have, first of all, it's going to be super expensive. And second of all, you're never going to match the paint. So, and it was, whatever. So I said, let me just take a hairdryer to it. I've seen some, videos about it, and that did not work. I got it down decently, but you could still see there was like a little, I don't know what you call it, a niggle or something on there. So I hired one of these kind of dent repair guys, and he came up and he did a really good job. And he used a blowtorch, which kind of scared me, but he got it really warm and massaged it out. And you know what? It looks, I would say, 99%, not 100, because I know it's still there. I think maybe there's something in my brain that's telling me it's still there. But that was kind of fun. And let's see, what else did I do? I drove the Cybertruck for the first time. And so when I went down to Jacksonville, Florida, and Kyle had taken delivery of the Cybertruck down there, I drove it. And I haven't been a fan of that vehicle from this. I'm intrigued by it, but to me, it's just like, it's so out there that there's no way I would ever want to drive that thing on a daily basis. But I was so impressed with how the ride quality was on the vehicle. The stereo kicks butt. It's amazing. And I really liked not only the Squircle steering wheel, or whatever you call it, but I really liked the drive-by-wire. It took me about 5 minutes to get used to it, and I was like, this makes all the sense in the world. So I really enjoyed that. I made a video on that, and I almost put in a ditch, just because you don't have to put much steering into it for it to really dart. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. And then the epic part of the month was, hey, Dad, you want to take a road trip from New Jersey to Florida in two F-150s? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So, with Tom Malogny and in his F-150, and then we had a different F-150. We did the race from New Jersey to Buc-ee's down in Daytona. And I mean, it was just so much fun. And Tom was cooking a pizza on the New Jersey State Turnpike. Then when he was stopped off in somewhere down south, he went into a Walmart, of course, because he was charging on the CCS network exclusively, and we were charging exclusively on the Tesla Supercharger Network, which had just gone live, like literally previously 2 days before that, the adapter came out. And so we wanted to see how that whole thing would go. Anyway, he went into Walmart, bought one of those Cuisinart, like a coffee maker, and he's making coffee in the back of the F-150, and it just was crazy. But after 1,003 miles, we ended up being 3 minutes apart. 6 minutes technically, but he got lost in the Buc-ee's parking lot due to traffic, and then he came around, and it's just amazing how, in my opinion, he lucked out. He didn't have problems with CCS, number one. Number two, the time that we left, he was charging in the middle of the night. So there weren't really all that many cars at CCS. I think if we had left earlier in the day and he was hitting a lot of the CCS chargers, 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we would have blown him away. And look, maybe it's a statement that CCS, EA, and all that they're getting better, which is good, right? We'll take it. But that was fun. And then, the epic road trip from Jacksonville all the way out to San Diego. I've never in my entire life driven cross country before. And so it was great. I was in the car with Andreas and Jordan. I think we had a blast. We had a lot of fun in the car. We got along. We didn't fight. Jordan got sick in the middle of it. He was like a dead body in the back seat. So we ended up only having 2 drivers. You'll see that in one of the upcoming episodes, but that was okay. And, I was just commenting earlier before this recording that, you know how oftentimes when you go on a road trip, you go 5-6 hours, you get out, you're sore. That F-150, with the Blue Cruise and the, lazy blurry recliner seats in the front and the beautiful sofa in the back, it's super comfortable. I wasn't sore at all in that truck. So anyway, that was my month. And what's great is tonight, this is now airing. So Friday, when this airs, I will be in Denver. I will be up at Kyle's house with my wife, Kathy, and we are going to be driving the Model X back to Connecticut, 1,800 miles over Easter weekend. There will be, a traditional classic out of spec road trip video with my wife, Kathy. I'm looking forward to that. I'm thinking about stopping into to a couple of the little spots that I stopped off the last time, sort of the Pony Express Museum, just to show Kathy. We'll see. I know Kyle hates that kind of stuff, but I like it. And, we'll see. I've got a big road trip coming up, and then I'm going to have the X back. So a lot of good content coming up in April for that. And then the weekend that I get back, I'm probably going to go to the New York Auto Show. I didn't get a chance to go yesterday, and I just want to check out some of the new vehicles that are on display there. So that's me.
Yeah.
That's been my month.
Plenty busy, plenty of kind of experiments and experiences for you, Dave, which is, you're staying busy, and it sounds like a lot of fun and like you're enjoying it. So congratulations on getting your X back almost. I know that you, now you need it without that ELR.
Yeah. And Colton, I was just curious, not ask, just curious if you maybe had a chance to do anything to, clean it up just a bit. If not, that's okay. But it would be greatly appreciated. I know you're probably pressed on time though.
I will. It's going to be here tomorrow morning, so I'll get her cleaned up for you.
Nice.
Just do the inside. Don't do the outside, because
I got to wash it.
Yeah, just maybe wash it. That's fine.
You got to have a clean car when you start a road trip.
Yeah, you do. You really do. It makes I think it runs better, and then you run better, and then everyone's running better with a cleaner car. Totally. So of course, I'm over here on the Out of Spec podcast, working with Ryan a lot too. And, we're reading all the headlines, figuring out what's going on, looking into things. And of course, there's been a lot of really, tremendously impactful things, including the Supercharger Network opening up that we've experienced firsthand on our team. And one thing that I'd like to, that's just kind of what I do. I've just been on the podcast. So if you're tuning into the podcast, you know what I've been up to. That's my update. But one thing, I will give a little VinFast update, because I know everyone people do ask, what's Spring Roll doing? So my dad took her for like a weekend, gave her a run around, said it's not that bad. He was like, especially for that lease deal that they were offering, which was pretty competitive. And I'm not sure exactly where that's still offered, but it was advertised as 0 down for $250 a month. You can look into it, listener. But that it would be a great deal for, like, if your kid turns 16 and gets their license and needs something to drive to school or drive to their job at the ice cream parlor, stuff like that. And, just getting around town, which I think is the general consensus. And I have not watched the VinFast video from
MKBHD. Yeah.
Marquez. No, I haven't watched his video, but a lot of people sent Marquez's video my way. Something's holding me back, but I'll probably watch it today and see what he had to say. I think hopefully it's not that bad. He said it was trying, which isn't the worst headline ever. So we'll see about that. But I'm excited.
Internal need to make the VinFast good.
Do I have an internal need?
She plays devil's advocate.
Yeah, you're like VinFast's biggest supporter over here.
It's hard not to get attached to the car you're driving. I think that's natural, And there's a lot of, I've been surprised, Francie, there's a lot of VinFast stands watching the podcast in the comment sections. It's good to see them.
Francie is very welcome when she visits Vietnam. They will welcome her.
Red carpet.
Yes. You're VinFast's biggest fan.
Definitely won't be arrested.
I wouldn't say that I'm their biggest fan or anything, but I'll point to what works and what doesn't, as I have. So I'm just
a good headline.
Straightforward. Yeah.
Marquez did like the VinFast, or he didn't hate it at all. He's actually liked it better than the Fisker Ocean that he reviewed.
That's a surprise, actually.
Oh, that's a bar.
He said it was more polished, like it had fewer bugs.
Something I'm really surprised about, from like everything I've seen, like it seems like the Fisker is so much more compelling than the VinFast, but like the public reception of like VinFast, like, oh, it's such a silly car, haha. But like people just hate Fisker. Like, how dare they make a car?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually enjoyed the small time I spent with our VinFast, the one that Francie's driving. I was like, it actually is like looks great, nice interior, dog mode. It's like not as bad, and it was definitely way better than the first time I drove it, which it was terrible the first time I had to go in that one.
Yeah,
so I think it's a good title from Marquez.
I need to get it out here so we can do our range testing.
Yeah, can you bring it out here?
All the testing, I can do that. And, it's just funny how it weighs more than Dave's Model X Plaid.
Yeah.
Hundreds of pounds more, not like barely, hundreds of pounds more than the Model X Plaid, which is a 3-row SUV tri-motor situation.
Mm-hmm.
With Falcon doors.
Yeah, she's heavy. She's got some weight to her, that's for sure. But anyways, before I derailed myself.
Dave make a video when he reunites with his Model X, just saying "back with my ex." I just think,
yeah, there you go.
Hey, you know what else has a Volt kind of powertrain? It's a Fisker Karma. Have you thought about going that direction?
He did back in the day. Do you remember when you were looking at those?
I remember seeing one, and I was like, "What is that?" And then Kyle said, "Do not go there."
I hate to derail this with another mention of bad decisions, but Fisker Ocean fire sale, maybe this is an out of spec podcast topic. What do we think of that? Because $25,000, my uncle just texted me. He's like, should I buy it?
Story, Max, on that. I went online on my phone just before this podcast to see what the deals are, because I was thinking about why not get one. And they won't let you can't even order or build one on the phone app. You have to go to your desktop app. And then I thought to myself, if they don't even have their iPhone or their app working to be able to order a car, how good could the car be? I saw one in New York City. I thought it looked beautiful, but I mean the lease deal that's on those things right now, $239 a month. Is that correct?
No, an even better deal would be the Ioniq 6 and Ioniq 5s.
That was the one I was thinking about, the Ioniq 6.
Yeah.
And that's a car that we have confidence will be supported in the long term. So it's probably the smarter buy. But still, like you were saying, Dave, I think the Fisker Ocean's a beautiful car. I know a lot of people who love the design. So if you're adventurous, if you're geeky, if you don't mind maybe having to update the software yourself to keep it running, maybe that could be interesting.
Well, we have all the Magna contacts, and didn't they just build the car? So, like, I'm sure we could find someone at Magna to keep it running.
Our car needs service. Let's ship it to Austria.
Yeah, ship it to Austria. Yeah. Sorry to derail your VinFast situation there, Francie. So
that's all right.
It's you're enjoying it. It's good. You now have level 2 charging.
Yeah, that's my update, really, is that my dad figured out how to charge it at home, but it's at his home, but it's still at someone's home charging. So he tried to take it to his office and plug in just the VinFast charger that came with it, and it didn't work for some reason. It was throwing him an error, and but he drove it to work, and then he found a little spot in his garage parking at the bottom of the building that he lives in, and wedged it into a corner where he could plug it in discreetly. So she charged all the way up. So that is great. So I don't have to go to the one CCS charging option, fast charging option in the 50-mile radius.
That's fine.
Yeah. What do you mean it didn't work? Was it a power supply issue or?
Yes, it was. I wasn't there exactly, and I encouraged my father to take photos and videos, but I haven't seen those yet. But I was hoping to get him onto the podcast too, to talk about it and talk about driving it around, because he drove it around.
The title should be Model S Plaid owner trades for VinFast.
He didn't trade. He won't trade me that Model S.
Well,
you really
makes a good title.
Yeah.
He traded for the day.
Yeah.
If only he did. But he took it on. I just didn't get the Model S, which is what I'm complaining about. But yeah, and then also I'm looking forward to the summer. I love road trips and I love car camping. And the VinFast does have a camp mode. And so I have been watching some YouTube videos on how to DIY just a little camping platform that you can, camp in your car. And so I'm hoping, as long as I stick to my guns, that I'm going to build that out and go on a bit of a VinFast road trip. I'd like to go a lot of places. So, but y'all have to get it out to Colorado first, and then please return it to me swiftly, or maybe I'll come get it.
Yeah, you can come get it.
Max, you're about to say something?
I just wanted to say, Francie, VinFast camping sounds wonderful. Please make sure your phone is charged before you go to bed in that thing.
I know. I feel like I need to have it at like RV sites so that I can plug it in, which I think will be interesting too, because I think some sites are okay with EVs coming in and using that energy, and then some aren't. I've just heard that anecdotally, but that'll be interesting.
It's absolutely true. Call ahead. My girlfriend and I almost got stranded in California in Death Valley because this RV site wouldn't let us charge my Polestar, even though I wanted to pay for like a tent site in an RV site. They were like, nope, you've got a car. It's not a truck with a camper, so you can't do it.
What? Wow, man, those are some interesting rules. And speaking of rules, I think a lot of people probably saw that the EPA has announced new standards that are going to affect what kind of cars we're going to see on the road. Basically, that automakers, this is something I'm going to cover in depth, so you'll have an episode on this soon, listeners. But that's something interesting in this industry, is that automakers are going to have to meet certain standards on the kind of emissions that their cars put out that they manufacture. But that's really it. You're just going to have to meet it somehow. So automakers are going to be able to make more EVs, more hybrids in whatever kind of dynamic they want, whatever ratio they want, as long as they meet those standards. So I thought that was an interesting piece of news to note from this past month. And also, of course, with the Supercharger Network opening up, I'd like to just pose one little discussion question that we can chat about before wrapping up the episode, which is that, of course, y'all were able to use the Supercharger Network because you have access to adapters, but that's not really the typical experience for someone right now that has a Ford or a Rivian. They're still waiting on those adapters. So there's a bit of a question of third-party adapters, of course, and then we start to think about safety, but then we also start to think about endorsement from OEMs. So what do you think? Should OEMs start, and I bet they have started, but should they start testing third-party CCS adapters? What do we think we should be doing here as everyone's waiting for adapters? And of course, the third-party market will go ham in this scenario.
I think one thing that's really important for manufacturers to keep in mind is like most of them will be able to watch this rollout with Ford and see what it looks like. If it happens really quickly and it's seamless, I don't think that there's a huge need for those manufacturers to go out, test other adapters and recommend them as an alternative. However, if it ends up taking months and it's a hassle and it's a big problem, I think that'd be a worthwhile endeavor for a manufacturer to try to figure out, hey, look, this is an acceptable alternative.
Like partnering. I mean, if I don't know if the manufacturer needs to do the testing, but like in the situation where like Apple sells their charging cables, but they also have the MFI certification that everyone else can use if they want a quote unquote Apple approved one, then that's Apple authorizing those third party connectors. As long as it's approved, and really the MFI is just a safety thing, like as long as it meets their safety standards, not even so much a speed thing. So I think safety is the bottom line here. It's just, you don't want people buying the cheapest thing on Temu and then their car catching on fire, and then headlines about, EVs just catch on fire. Like, it's just a train wreck situation there. But I think it's bottom line safety. But I don't know, everyone's going to try to push the blame or effort on someone else.
Yeah, the big question comes down to when you're using a third-party adapter, and there is an issue because across thousands and hundreds of thousands of charging sessions, there will be an issue with the factory adapter and the third-party adapter. But when you're using the third-party adapter and you have welded contacts or you have a fried situation, I don't know, whatever happens, who is paying for the damages? And what I think it comes down to at this moment, if you read the terms of service from any approved automaker on the Supercharger Network, which is only Ford and Rivian, and if you read the Supercharger's terms of service, they are strictly prohibiting the use of third-party adapters. That means that you used an unauthorized piece of equipment to bridge the connection between the charger and your inlet port, and you are now responsible for your own battery pack or your supercharging cable that you may have fried and damaged the pins in. And I'm not sure that it'll get to that point so quickly, but I am all for voiding warranties and doing stupid stuff with cars, and I love that. But I do have this bad feeling about third-party adapters, and especially out of spec recommending them. We might want to test them. We might want to play around with them on our own, but I don't think you'll ever see anyone at out of spec say, we use this adapter, you should go buy one, here's our link. Because then some of the blame falls on us if there's a major issue. And I'm sure 99% of charging sessions, especially when the adapter is new, they're going to work just fine, and that's just my guess. It'll be okay. But when that adapter ages, if it gets dropped in the ocean and has saltwater corrosion, or who knows what the heck can happen to these things. Are the sensors inside of these adapters going to protect in the case of failure, or at least the over temperature? And as far as I'm aware, all of the adapters, including the factory one, will only just shut off charging if it gets too hot. They do not derate based on temperature. So are those sensors in the right places? And I don't think we, or really even the automakers, or even really the charging companies, have the skill set to properly certify and test these adapters. I had issues just from opening up the Tesla official CCS adapter, the one that goes from CCS to NACS, that has been out for a couple of years. Talking to some experts, we all, and I agree, had issues with the way that was sorted from a safety perspective. I fried my official adapter from Tesla charging on a CCS station. So I think it's something that everyone's being a bit flippant about. I think we need to really, definitely, none of us recommend them. I think we can test them. We're certainly not here to bash anyone using it, because I understand the benefits. And you might even see us out in the real world playing around with them, testing them, just so we have an idea. But I think the third-party adapter game is, so I'm sure some of them are going to be safe. I don't know what those are. And I'm sure 100% most of them are probably going to be sketchy and not ready to handle, 700 plus amps, which is what a Cybertruck wants when you plug it into a fast charger. This is the highest current any normal person has ever dealt with in the history of humanity, and they're holding it in this crappy little Amazon adapter for $40. So get sketchy.
And to Francie's point, I'm curious who's going to lead the charge, unseverely intended, on this versus who's going to wait and watch and see what everyone else does. I mean, we're seeing that strategy with the whole NACS adoption. Some companies are like saying, oh, we're going to get NACS in our vehicles ASAP. We just saw the Rivian R2 and R3 unveil with NACS ports versus, I just did I forgot to mention, I did some traveling in Germany and Spain with new Taycan, new Q6 e-tron. They're all launching with CCS, and they will eventually go to NACS, but it seems like the German companies are like waiting a little bit, just watching what's happening with all the American chaos.
Let me chime in here a little bit. Is it Jose from Rivian Tracker that?
Yes.
So here's an interesting thing. Before Rivian actually officially opened up their network to NACS, he got a hold of, I believe it was an A to Z adapter, and charged his Rivian successfully. And I remember the internet blew up that night. And I happened to be on a podcast, or not a podcast, I think it was a Twitter Spaces, where he was talking, and the CEO of A to Z was on that Twitter Spaces, or whatever it's called, X Spaces. And in no way is this an endorsement for A to Z, but what he did do was he introduced a lot of real world potential issues with third-party adapters, as Kyle was alluding to, buying a cheap knockoff on Amazon for $40, that there's a lot of potential issues with them. He made a good argument as to why his adapter was very good. But if it were me and it was my $85,000, platinum F-150 Lightning, there is no way I would be charging on anything but what Ford actually gives me and endorses. That's just my money. Because if something were to go wrong, and I know Kyle says, no big deal, I'd avoid warranties. But for me and my money, I don't want to take that risk. So if the manufacturers, getting back to your original question, Francie, if the manufacturers endorse not only the adapter that they give you or provide to you, but if there are other third-party adapters that the manufacturers go through their independent testing and say, these are okay to use, I think that's fine. And I think that would be a good thing, but there's no way I would use a third-party adapter on my own personal truck.
Yeah, I think we're kind of all in agreement there, which is that there's a huge safety and, this is my valuable thing and I don't want to endanger it at all. And also I'd like to use something that is tried and true, given to me directly from the automaker that made my EV. So obviously, clearly, we're not endorsing third-party adapters, and we don't plan to. So it's just an interesting question of who and how should it be tested, and what do we think we're going to see?
Yeah, my opinion is once we start to see validations either from Tesla or third party or from automakers recommending certain adapters, let's say there's 2 or 3 different ones, I think that's great. I don't think Tesla should have the monopoly on adapter sales. I think we need to open it up, but also there needs to be, it's UL 2252 is the official testing standard that adapters will have to meet from a safety component. I have it on my computer. I haven't had a chance to read through all of it, but it seems pretty thorough. The biggest issue I have with most of the adapters is they're just a dumb thing in between the charger and the inlet port of the vehicle, and there's no way for them really to dynamically derate charging if there's an issue. And I think it leads to a poor customer experience if it bricks charging in the sense where it interrupts the control pilot signal and blows open the contactors under load, which is extremely rough, not only on the charging equipment, but the vehicle as well. So everyone's talking about these safety backups, but the reliability aspect of constantly tripping a control pilot, which is basically like ripping out the plug mid-charging session where it goes into a safety override to stop charging. That's rough on equipment. And it's rough on the grid too. I mean, it's like no one's ready for, it's something that's pulling 350 kilowatts to just boom, stop right there. Everything likes to be gentle and smooth and give time for it to ramp in. So it's early days. Our stance at the moment is we're going to test them. I will, at least. I'm going to play around with them, but no endorsements until a real, the biggest thing for me is until a third party, whether that's the charging company or the automaker, takes the cost of whatever problem occurs during that charging process. If they're willing to pay for it, then yeah, use whatever adapter you want, because then if there's an issue, you're not on the hook for a $50,000+ battery in some of these big EVs.
Totally. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what our audience, what our listeners, what our viewers think in the comments. Please contribute to this discussion, as I know many of you are EV drivers and curious about how this is going to continue when you are going to get access to the Supercharger Network if you don't already have it. Thanks, team, for your input. I think it's a curious conversation, and we'll continue to see how it unfolds, of course. And I think that's a pretty good wrap up of the March, the end of March team podcast. But hopefully we have these at least, once a week and can catch you up on what we're up to. Anything else y'all want to throw in before we wish everyone a great rest of their Friday?
I just want to add one more thing about the Tesla adapters, because I feel like this is such an important topic. Agree with everything that's been said here. Liability cannot be underestimated. These are huge assets in what we're talking about in terms of the battery, not to mention the safety issues. So I think so long as Tesla, and I do think Tesla should do this, does have some kind of adapter certification program, once that's put in place, I think that will be great. Without that, I would feel very uncomfortable with a third-party adapter. But hopefully they can just make enough of the official ones or certify them the way that Jordan mentioned Apple does with like made for iPhone accessories. And we're talking like in that case with Apple, they're certifying something that plugs into your USB port on your computer and worst case might fry one of your ports, not fry your whole vehicle that is maybe the second most expensive thing you own. The other thing I want to mention is that like I think not just us without a spec, but I think the media in general has kind of looked at the whole Tesla charging situation as this like panacea for EV charging issues. And I think it's absolutely not. I mean, I've just seen firsthand, there's a lot of issues. I have one of the most ideal vehicles for Tesla charging. Polestar 2 has battery preconditioning, has a charge port that's in the correct location for Tesla superchargers. And it's still not perfect, even using the Magic Dock adapters. We've got the new ones at Buc-ee's here that work. People with the Ioniq 5s, the high voltage vehicles, are going to have issues charging at full speed. The cables are too short on V3. And before the Tesla fans rush at me, yes, Tesla designed V3 stations without maybe knowing they'd open up the network, but we're seeing the consequences of that now. That basically, I don't think the Supercharger network is really ready to provide the kind of experience that maybe people have seen about on a spec or read about, where Tesla charging on a Tesla vehicle is really great. It's not so great on a lot of non-Tesla vehicles. I made out of spec guide videos on this, but I just want to reiterate that before people go to rush out and buy adapters, official or unofficial, with this like excitement. It's great. Don't get me wrong, I want better charging, but just a reality check is that we're not there yet. Tesla and everyone else has a lot of work to do in kind of getting the interoperability story to work better.
You're so right, Max, because in our recent video where we towed over the Rockies, the Rivian had to, what was it, three charging times it took for him to get charging on a supercharger, just interop bugs. I've had
Yeah, the Tesla's own vehicle, the Cybertruck, is too ahead of the game because Tesla's chargers aren't ready for it, right? That's where you're mentioning, Kyle, 700 amps because they can't pump high voltage to the Cybertruck like its battery pack should be able to take. So it's an in-progress story.
Yeah, I would agree.
Totally. Super fun. Thanks, y'all, for coming on to the podcast for this week's team podcast. Look forward to see what y'all get up to next week. And stay tuned, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the Out of Spec podcast. Interesting discussions. Please contribute in the comments. We love to see what y'all are thinking and asking and doing in your own electric lives. We'll see you next time on the next episode. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.